environment. And over time, it will end up becoming a super intelligence. It will get better by learning from itself and learning from any environment that you put it in. So much so that it kind of exceeds human performance at any knowledge or action task. So it could play any game, control any physical infrastructure, learn about any academic discipline. It's going to be a really, really powerful system in the future. But I do think that's a long, long way away. Before we get there, there are just going to be regular AI systems or AI companions that can talk to you in the same language that you or I talk to one another. I'm sure lots of people have played with various chatbots like ChatGPT and Copilot. And you can see it's getting pretty good. Like, it's still a little awkward, but it's pretty knowledgeable. We've been reducing the hallucinations quite a lot. Lately, we've added the real-time access to information so it can check up on the news and it'll know the weather and it'll kind of have a temporal awareness. And those systems, I think, are going to be around for a pretty long time before we have to worry about a big AGI. But, that is probably coming.
So when you say hallucinations, are you talking about incorrect information coming from AI?
Yeah, I mean, good question. So not quite. Like, I think of a hallucination as the model inventing something new, right?
Okay.
And so sometimes you want it to be creative. Like, you're actually looking for it to find the, connection between a zebra and a lemon and a New York taxi, right? And if you ask it that question, it's going to come up with some creative, poetic, connection that links those three things. But then sometimes you just want it to be like super to the point and not wander off and talk all kinds of, creative, poetic nonsense. You just wanted to give you the facts.
Yeah.
So that's a spectrum. And what we're trying to do is figure out from a query, like, given the thing that you're asking the model, should we put it into a more creative mode or a more like precise and specific mode that's more likely to be accurate? And that's kind of the hallucination challenge.
How is AGI different from narrow AI? Like, what's the main differences?
Well, narrow AI is the kind of conversational companions that I was describing. Like, it's limited. It doesn't improve on its own.
Okay.
So you sort of train it within some boundaries, and then it gets good at a specific number of tasks. Like, it's good at great conversation. Maybe it can do document understanding. Maybe it can even generate a little bit of code. But we know what its capabilities are to some extent.
Okay.
That's a narrow version of AI when we use it for a specific purpose, right? A more general AI is going to be one where it has things like recursive self-improvement. It could edit its own code in order to get better, right? It could self-improve, or like it would have autonomy. It could act independently of your direct, command, essentially, or you give it a very general command, and it goes off and does all sort of sub actions that are super complicated, like, maybe even invent a new product and create a website for it and then set up a drop ship for it and then, go and market it and, grab all the, take all the income and then do the accounts and so on. I mean, I think that's kind of plausible in, say, 3 to 5 years. Before 2030, I think we'll definitely have that, and might well be much, much sooner. Could well be like a lot sooner.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy to think about. So how does that challenge the way that we think of us as humans and consciousness and intelligence? Like, is it going to change the way that we think of what's human and what's not?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are going to have to contend with a new type of software, right? Historically, software has been, input in, input out. You type something on Airbnb and it gives you a search result page. Or, you play a piece of music and it, on Spotify, and that, comes out as intended. And software so far has been about utility. It's been functional. The goal is for it to do the same thing over and over again in a very predictable way. And it's been really useful, right? We've created trillions of dollars of business value out of it and unbelievable social human connection and knowledge and all the rest of it. It's been incredible, actually. But we're just about to embark on a completely new phase of the digital journey where computers are now learning to speak our language, right? You don't have to learn the language of a computer to interact with it anymore. I mean, you can. It's still important to be a programmer, but it can actually understand your language. It can understand the audio that you give it when you do a voice input, the intonation, the inflection, the volume, the pace, the pauses, right? It will increasingly be able to see what you see. So not only will you take a picture and it will recognize what's in the picture, it will have complete screen understanding of everything that you're doing in your browser or on your desktop or on your phone, frame by frame. You're browsing Instagram, it's seeing everything that you're seeing in real time, talking to you about the content of what you're interacting with on Instagram, on TikTok, you know, when you're reading the news, whatever you're doing. So that's a profound shift in that's not a tool anymore, right? That is really starting to capture something meaningful about what it means to be human, because it's using the same language that we use to understand one another, right? All those subtle cues that take place in social bonding of human relationships suddenly is going to be present in that dynamic. And it's a really big deal. And I think even though we've had a couple of years of large language models being out there and people get to play with it in the open source, I still don't think people are quite grasping how big a deal this shift is about to be.
So this question wasn't planned, but it's, you know, on my mind. You mentioned that you're an atheist now, and, you know, you've been central to developing AI, and AI is becoming more human-like. Do you feel like that has altered your perspective about religion a bit?
You know, I think there are many amazing things about religion. Religion was a way that people made up stories, this is in my opinion, in order to make sense of a complex world that was confusing. And then science came along and showed that actually we really can understand the world through empirical observation and a falsifiable process of coming up with a hypothesis, running some experiments, observing those results, subjecting them to peer review, and then iterating on the corpus of human knowledge. And that's how we produced known facts that are very reliable because they keep getting tested over and over again. And when something fundamental happens, we change our entire paradigm. And so I think that, you know, it's unclear to me what role religion plays anymore in understanding the physical world or even increasingly understanding the kind of social world. I think that, you know, if you look at the contributions in the last, say, century or even couple centuries from great poets and philosophers and musicians, storytellers, creators, inventors, most of them have nothing to do with religion, and yet they've taught us most about ourselves and our societies, right? Yeah. If you really want to understand who we are as a people, as humans, how our societies function, you don't turn to religion anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, some people will obviously disagree with that, and full respect to them for their opinion, but that's kind of where I land on it these days.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay, so let's move on to Inflection AI. You co-founded it in 2022, and your vision was to develop AI that people could communicate with more easily. Why did you feel like that needed to be developed?
Well, we were at a time when I had sort of just left Google. I'd been working on LaMDA, which was Google's conversational search AI that we ended up never launching. It then got launched as Bard, and then it became Gemini. And I was sort of frustrated because I was like, these technologies are ready for prime time. They're, you know, ready for feedback from the real world. They're not perfect. They make a lot of mistakes, but, you know, we're technology creators. We've got to put things out there and see how it lands, iterate quickly, listen to what people have to say. And it was just sort of just frustrating that we just couldn't get things done at Google at that time. And so I realized it has to be done. It's time to start a company. Me and Reid Hoffman and my friend Karen Simonian started Inflection, and we created Pi, the personal intelligence. It was a super friendly, warm, high emotional intelligence conversational companion. At the time, it was, I think, the most fluent and the most kind of high EQ conversational companion. It had a bit of personality, it had a bit of humor. And